Hello and welcome to the Cultured Bumpkin. I'm a voice actor. I love classic literature and I love reading it aloud to others and making it, accessible, making some of the great writings of the past accessible. So, what I like to do is instead of recording audiobooks in the quietness of my studio, I like to invite my friends to enjoy it with me during the recording. And then I edit it and put it back on YouTube for absolutely free in audiobook form. So this is my live recording of chapter 14 of A Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court. And as I am oft wont to do, the characters are Southern, right? So straightforward narration, and then the characters are Southern. And I've done Pride and Prejudice, Persuasion, both by Jane Austen. I've done Anne of Green Gables, about to post that, Treasure Island, and various and sundry other short stories and poems and that kind of thing. So if you like classic literature, you're going to like it here. So without further ado, let's get to it, shall we? Chapter 14. Defend thee, Lord. I paid 3 pennies for my breakfast, and a most extravagant price it was, too, seeing that one could have breakfasted a dozen persons for that money. But I was feeling good by this time, and I had always been a kind of spendthrift anyway. And then these people had wanted to give me the food for nothing, scant as their provision was, and so it was a grateful pleasure to emphasize my appreciation and sincere thankfulness with a good big financial lift where the money would do so much more good than it would in my helmet, where these pennies being made of iron and not stinted in weight, my $half worth was a good deal of a burden to me. I spent money rather too freely in those days, it's true, but one reason for it was that I hadn't got the proportions of things entirely adjusted, even yet, after so long a sojourn in Britain. Hadn't got along to where I was able to absolutely realize that a penny in Arthur's Land and a couple dollars in Connecticut were about one and the same thing. Just twins, as you may say, in purchasing power. If my start from Camelot could have been delayed a very few days, I could have paid these people in beautiful new crowns from our own mint, and that would have pleased me, and them too, not less. I had adopted the American values exclusively. In a week or two now, excuse me, in a week or two now, cents, nickels, dimes, quarters, and $half, and also a trifle of gold, would be trickling in thin but steady streams all through the commercial veins of the kingdom, and I looked to see this new blood freshen up its life. The farmers were bound to throw in something to sort of offset my liberality, whether I would or no, so I let them give me a flint and steel. And as soon as they had comfortably bestowed Sandy and me on our horse, I lit my pipe. When the first blast of smoke shot out through the bars of my helmet, all those people broke for the woods, and Sandy went over backwards and struck the ground with a dull thud. They thought I was one of those fire-belching dragons they had heard so much about from the knights and other professional liars. I had infinite trouble to persuade those people to venture back within explaining distance. Then I told them that this was only a bit of enchantment which would work harm to none but my enemies, and I promised, with one hand on my heart, that if all who felt no enmity toward me would come forward and pass before me, that they should see that only those who remained behind would be struck dead. The procession moved with a good deal of promptness. There were no casualties to report, for nobody had curiosity enough to remain behind to see what would happen. I lost some time now, for these big children, their fears gone, became so ravished with wonder over my awe-compelling fireworks that I had to stay there and smoke a couple of pipes out before they'd let me go. Still, the delay was not wholly unproductive, for it took all that time to get Sandy thoroughly wonted to the new thing, she being so close to it, you know. It plugged up her conversation mill, too, for a considerable while, and that was for a game. But above all other benefits accruing, I had learned something. I was ready for any giant or any ogre that might come along now. We tarried with a holy hermit that night, and my opportunity came about the middle of the next afternoon. We were crossing a vast meadow by way of a shortcut, and I was musing absently, hearing nothing, seeing nothing, when Sandy suddenly interrupted a remark which she had begun that morning with the cry, "Defend thee, Lord! Peril of life is toward!" and she slipped down from the horse and ran a little way and stood. I looked up and saw, far off in the shade of a tree, half a dozen armed knights and their squires, and straightway there was a bustle among them and tightening of saddle girths for the mount. My pipe was ready and would have been lit if I had not been lost in thinking about how to banish oppression from this land and restore to all its people their stolen rights and manhood without disobliging anybody. I lit up at once, and by the time I'd got a good head of reserved steam on, here they came. All together, too. None of those chivalrous magnanimities which one reads about so much. One courtly rascal at a time, and the rest standing by to see fair play. No, they came in a body. They came with a whir and a rush. They came like a volley from a battery. Came with heads low down, plumes streaming out behind, lances advanced at a level. It was a handsome sight, a beautiful sight, for a man up a tree. I laid my lance in rest and waited, with my heart beating, till the iron wave was just about ready to break over me, then spouted a column of white smoke through the bars of my helmet. You should have seen the wave go to pieces and scatter. This was a finer sight than the other one. But these people stopped 200 or 300 yards away, and this troubled me. My satisfaction collapsed, and fear came. I judged I was a lost man. But Sandy was radiant and was going to be eloquent, but I stopped her and told her my magic had miscarried somehow or other, and she must mount with all dispatch, and we must ride for life. No, she wouldn't. She said that my enchantment had disabled those knights. They were not riding on because they couldn't. Wait, they would drop out of the saddles presently, and we would get the horses. Wait, we would drop out. Wait, they would drop out of their saddles presently, and we would get their horses and harness. I could not deceive such trusting simplicity, so I said it was a mistake, that when my fireworks killed at all, they killed instantly. No, the men would not die. There was something wrong about my apparatus. I couldn't tell what, but we must hurry and get away, for those people would attack us again in a minute. Sandy laughed and said, "Lack a day, sir, they be not of that breed. Sir Launcelot will give battle to dragons, and will abide them, and will assail them, again and yet again, and still again, until he do conquer and destroy them. And so likewise will Sir Pellinore, and Sir Algavail, and Sir Carados, and mayhap others. But there is none else that will venture it. Let the idle say what the idle will. And as to yonder base rufflers, think ye they've not had their fill, but yet desire more? Well, then, what are they waiting for? Why don't they leave? Nobody's hindering. Good land, I'm willing to let bygones be bygones, I'm sure. Leave, is it? Oh, give thyself easement to that. They dream not of it. No, not they. They wait to yield them. Come, really, is that sooth, as you people say? If they want to, why don't they? It would lack them much, but an ye want how dragons are esteemed, ye would not hold them blamable. They fear to come. Well, then I suppose I go to them instead, and wit ye well that they would not abide your coming. I will go. And she did. She was a handy person to have along on a raid. I would have considered this a doubtful errand myself. I presently saw the knights riding away and Sandy coming back. That was a relief. I judged she had somehow failed to get the first innings. In the conversation. Otherwise, the interview wouldn't have been so short. But it turned out that she had managed the business well. In fact, admirably. She said that when she told those people I was the boss, it hit them where they lived. Smote 'em sore with fear and dread, was her word. And then they were ready to put up with anything she might require. So she swore them to appear at Arthur's court within 2 days and yield them with horse and harness and be my knights henceforth and subject to my command. How much better she managed that thing than I should have done myself. She was a daisy. All right, well, that is chapter 14, and that's it. So I'm going to start doing longer readings throughout the week, hopefully, and continuing. But that's all I got for tonight. My brother's in town. I want to run across the street to my mom's house and say hello. So I hope you have a great night. Happy New Year, and I will see you back here soon if you like that kind of thing. Please do like and subscribe if you're watching live or catching the replay, and I'll talk to you later. Have a good one.